Hey everyone, it's very early on a Thursday morning. It's the morning after I had a back procedure yesterday, and I'm up and going. I had to go get some lumbar spine injections yesterday, and if you don't know what that is, it's as painful as it sounds. So, like I said, this is the morning after. I'm kind of up and about and seeing how the back feels, and I have to have more than 2 weeks' time. I've had them before. They're probably one of the most unpleasant things you'll ever have, but and I only mention this for posterity. When I'm dead and gone, my kids can watch this video and they kind of know the time frame in which this is being filmed. Anyways, this is a jam-packed video. Oh yeah, also I'm off work for a couple of days, so I'm finally and I'm under orders just to do nothing. So this is awesome in the sense that I get to listen to all these records that I've been building up. So what you're listening to now, first of all, is, if you can hear it, maybe you can, maybe you can't, is the Avalanches, Since I Left You. If anyone doesn't know this album, it's probably one of the best albums recorded in the past 20 years, in my opinion. I definitely recommend you check the Avalanches out if you've not heard that album. Anyways, yeah, it's been a really good past 7 to 10 days of thrift store cheap finds and some new arrivals in the mail, and that's where we'll start. But just to give you some perspective of what we're talking about, and I gotta try not to lift too much because of my back here, but that's one pile. Oh, and I'm doing everything the doctors told me not to do. And that's the other pile. So yeah, it's I've had some couple really good hauls, and it's coming up to that Christmas season when all the good releases are coming out. So yeah, I don't do anything else in life. So anyways, I don't know if I've done this already, but I want to say cheers to everyone. Hope everyone's having a good week, and I hope everyone has a good weekend coming up. You may see another reappearance of my dog. She's right over there, and her mama's gone to work just now, so I think she's feeling a bit lonely. I'm sure you'll see her. Yeah, it's freezing cold here where I am. It's our first mega snow. Well, mega. It's Canada, so everything's mega for snow. Our first snowfall came, and that stayed. So it's utterly freezing this morning, and that's damn depressing. If you're in a warm climate, I hate you. Yeah, that's just jealousy. Anyways, we're going to get right to this. We're going to start with new arrivals that came in the mail. First of all, these aren't so much new arrivals as everyone knows who watches my videos that I'm a massive Hawkwind fan. We're doing one take again today. I don't care what the hell happens. I'm a massive Hawkwind fan. And Nick Turner, ex of Hawkwind, played my city a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna guess maybe for the first time ever. And you know that you need some cash when you're playing Western Canada for the first time. But having said that, Nick Turner, if you don't know Nick Turner, he was the saxophone player in the classic lineup of Hawkwind and On and Off Again Folklist. And he's been out of the band forever and a day. And there's been many lawsuits between him and Dave Brock, the only original member of Hawkwind who's still in the proper Hawkwind. Anyways, he's 75, and it was one of the most amazing shows I've seen in a long time. I didn't know what to expect because the openers were. So me and my friend Tom, we went down after we saw the openers. We weren't that hopeful, but for 75, he came on smiling the whole show. And you know what? A couple times he had to, and he's 75, and for us, as enthusiastic as he was, you know, he sometimes had to take some papers out of his pockets to read lyrics from a couple new songs. And when he was playing saxophone, he wasn't quite aware that he wasn't on microphone, so the band was moving the microphone for him to make sure he was on mic. But having said that, I mean, my God, he just put on one of the most amazing shows. It was in a small venue here, and it kind of reminded me of shows of my teenage years in basement clubs or community halls, and the crowd was just electric, and it was just everything that I would have wanted from a a Nick Turner show, and it's as close as I'm gonna ever come to seeing Hawkwind. And he did a lot of his newer material, but he did a lot of classic Hawkwind songs, and it was just amazing. Having said that, I got to meet him afterwards and kind of sit down and just briefly have words with him, and he was just the nicest guy, very unassuming. And this is his new album. I was going to pre-order it, but I knew he was coming, and I was going to bank that he was going to have his new album on vinyl at the show, and he did. And I thought, well, you know, I'll support him at the show and give him my money there. And his new album is called Life in Space, and it's got some ex-Hawkwind members doing some stuff on it, like Simon House is on it, etc., etc. Anyways, his last 3 solo albums have been really good. Space Gypsy has been amazing. His last one is okay. This one is really, really good. So I'm not sure if you're a Nick Turner fan, if you're on the fence about maybe checking him out or his new album out, but this album is really, really good. So anyways, it's called Life in Space. And I'm going to see my dog coming in the photo right away. And he was nice enough to sign all my stuff like a big fanboy. It says, "For David, stay high, Nick Turner." Words to live by. Stay high. Anyways, however you take that. Yeah, new album. Really, really good. So I recommend you check that one out. And then, of course, what would a fanboy be without having a copy of Space Ritual signed by Nick Turner? Same thing, stay high, Nick Turner. So yeah, there you go. And that's my Nick Turner story. That was just an amazing night, and I don't really have a lot of amazing nights out at shows anymore. Well, I don't really go to a lot of shows a lot. I used to go to like shows every other day. I used to go to 3 or 4 a week sometimes, but just age and my aforementioned back and work kind of keeps me out of the game a lot. But yeah, I was so happy to see Nick Turner. All right. Sorry if that was a bit long on the Nick Turner story. Last video, I was talking about a Amazon box set sale, Amazon UK box set sale, where I got the Human League box set at a way less than half price. And a few years ago, the Led Zeppelin reissues came out. Everyone knows about the Led Zeppelin vinyl reissues. Everyone went all ape shit about it. And I swore to myself I wasn't going to get them because I have pretty stellar versions of original copies of all the Led Zeppelin albums. But I said to myself, if this particular one ever came up on a good sale, I would pick it up because it's my favorite Led Zeppelin album. And I think the bonus material is well worth it. If you don't know Led Zeppelin, the vinyl reissues of a few years ago, there was single disc, or if it came out in a double, it came out in the original double format. There was a bonus versions with an extra vinyl or so, and then there was a box set. I'm picking my coffee up because my dog's right behind me. You don't see this. And then there was a Super Deluxe box set, and the Super Deluxe box sets, you know, whatever, they are what they are. And anyways, this one came up on the Amazon UK box set sale. I'm just going to show it to you. It's the first Led Zeppelin album, the 3-album version. And this is the one I said I would pick up, and I got this for £15, which is about 20, at the time of ordering this, it was 25 Canadian. In Canada, this sells for about $65 to $70, just for a point of reference. For $25, free shipping, for the triple vinyl of Led Zeppelin's first album, my favorite Zeppelin album. And the reason why I feel this is such a, the bonus material is so good is it has a live concert from 1969 in Paris, I believe. The concert's amazing, the vinyl sounds amazing, all the bonus stuff is just amazing. So if you haven't picked up any of the Led Zeppelin reissues, and this one comes up for sale, I wholeheartedly say this one is probably one of the better ones for bonus material. So anyways, the triple vinyl version of Led Zeppelin's first album came in at just an amazing price. I mean, what is that, 25? That's almost a third of the price for what you pay for in Canada. So thank you, Amazon UK, for that one. See, the piles are so big that I'm going to have to break these up into 2, almost 3 videos, possibly. So I kind of grabbed one pile, and you know, so there's no rhyme or reason to these piles. Keep it eclectic for you. Anyways, the next new release that came in the mail, they have now reissued all the Bruce Dickinson solo albums. Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden fame. As a lot of you might know, he left Iron Maiden in the early 90s, and he went on to release many solo albums. And there's a box set that I kind of pondered, but I'm not a fan of all the Bruce Dickinson solo albums. A lot of people like his first couple, Balls to Picasso and Tattooed Millionaire, and I'm not a big fan of those albums. His later solo albums, though, when he had Adrian Smith, who at the time was not in Iron Maiden as well, they joined forces, and they did, I believe, Accident at Birth, and they did Chemical Wedding, and then I think they might have done one other one. Those albums, I think, are really good. And the other ones haven't come in the mail yet, the few that I ordered. But this one did, the aforementioned. The Chemical Wedding. This probably has, I think, one of his best solo songs ever called The Tower. And they did a really good job on these reissues. So that came in the mail. Bruce Dickinson, The Chemical Wedding. And these were actually really good. This is a double vinyl. Really good pre-order price. Not that it's all about price. Like I said, this is always just point of reference for you. But I was really happy. The pre-order prices were less than $25 for the double vinyls. Let's not start that debate now. Anyways, Bruce Dickinson, The Chemical Wedding. This one was at a local record store, and this kind of is case in point as to just when you think that you flip through everything in their racks, their catalog racks, maybe it's worth another look, because this popped up under the Tom Petty section where it wasn't before. And I'm not sure if they found one in the back or a customer had it on hold for a long time. Maybe a staff member had it on hold and they put it back out. Because that's when you think you see it all. Boom, one morning I went into one of my favorite local record stores and they had an old copy of a Record Store Day title that I think they just put back out. And it wasn't inflated. It was the original price that it was on the day. And it was a title that I didn't pick up on this Record Store Day. Because I don't think the store had it in on the day. I think they got it in after the fact. But anyways, let's just get to it. It's Tom Petty, Kiss My Amps, Volume 2. There was a Volume 1, which I do have, but Volume 2 I just didn't pick up. And if you don't know what these Record Store Day Tom Petty titles are, they were just various live recordings on a single vinyl. And the albums are stacked. I mean, if you put 1 and 2 together, they're probably one of his best live kind of albums, although they have that massive live anthology box set, which I don't really own on vinyl. But having said that, if you ever see old stock of this one kicking around your store, pick it up. Record Store Day title. Tom Petty, Kiss My Amps, Volume 2. Really, 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 really good album. All right. Like Hawkwind, I've talked many times before about the band Ministry, who I'm a big fan of. In the late 80s, I kind of sold my soul to Al Jourgensen when I was a young, impressionable youth. And I was a massive fan of the Wax Trax record label. And if you don't know, Al Jourgensen is the main guy in Ministry. And then in the 80s and 90s, he had 1,000 side projects. Most of them came out on Wax Trax records. Cleopatra Records, one of the most dodgiest labels on earth, has paid off Al to open his vaults up. And they've been releasing some really great archival albums. There's one coming in the mail today, actually, which is going to have its own video, because I think it's of somewhat importance to the early 90s kind of alternative scene. And it's an album that's well worth talking about in a full 15-minute video or 10-minute long video. But anyways, this one came in the mail. This is the Trax Rarities on, was it, double clear vinyl. And basically, it's Al gave him a bunch of rare B-sides, some rare live stuff. But what I bought this for was the second album, which is a lot of the rare tracks from his side bands, like Palehead. Palehead was Al and Ian Mackay from Fugazi and Minor Threat. Revolting Cocks, obviously, PTP, and 1000 Homo DJs, which is Al and Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. Anyways, there's the track listing if you care to pause and see that. Anyways, Ministry Trax Rarities. Whereas Cleopatra really releases dodgy shit at best, there hasn't been a bad Ministry release so far on that label of archival stuff. So anyways, Ministry Trax Rarities came in. Very happy with that one. Just when I think I have completed my Oasis collection, I forget about an album. And when the Oasis vinyl came out, was it last year? I believe it was last year. Maybe, I can't remember now, 2 years ago. They reissued slowly all the Oasis catalog, and they never included their last album, Dig Out Your Soul, which I was very this dumbfounded me why that album wasn't part of it, as it was probably their best album up to that point in a long time. But anyways, finally this came in last week. This is a brand new reissue of Dig Out Your Soul. And I never had this on vinyl, and I don't know why. I used to have tons of copies of this in my record store I used to own. And it's funny, when vinyl first started coming back, it never really occurred to you that, well, the pressing plants are so in demand that pressings aren't going to be like the 80s and 70s and whatever, where they can just order another repress and have the turnaround be like a week or something. That once a pressing's gone, you might not see it again, or you might not see another pressing for a year from now. So I just never picked up some of these Oasis things back in the day. Stupid me. Anyways, Dig Out Your Soul came in, and now I can officially, this is me closing a door without throwing my back out. I can close the door on the Oasis catalog. I have everything. I have all the vinyl box sets. I have all the studio albums. A lot of the singles, not all the singles, but I'm not terribly obsessed with getting Oasis singles. Anyways, Dig Out Your Soul, Oasis, came in the mail. Alright, that's the last of the new ones I'm going to show you. We're going to go on to Cheap Finds, and this is one hell of a good one. I have never seen this album. I've seen Parliament albums at record fairs, and they command a lot of... I've never seen one at a thrift store, but until now. I got an amazing condition copy of Parliament up for the downstroke, original Casablanca Records pressing. Parliament, I don't even know if I can talk about Parliament, because if you don't know Parliament, then shame on you. It's George Clinton and Bootsy Collins, amongst other members. One of those amazing live bands of the 70s. It's something you guys see on YouTube. It's just a whole other world unto itself. Anyways, enough yakking about Parliament, but I mean, that is just, I don't know, that's worth all the gas I spent this year on traveling to thrift stores, was getting this one. Up for the downstroke, Parliament. Alright, we're going to talk about this album. And this is one of those albums that I felt like making a video one day about my thrift store tips, but I think that's very presumptuous of me. I think it's just kind of very... Anyways, people have asked me, make videos about what's your tips for finding things at thrift stores, but I just think that's just... That has an air that I'm better than anyone, or better than you, and I'm not. I just have it kind of nailed down. Anyways, having said that, so people have asked for that video. I don't know. Probably not. Anyways, one tip I can tell you is trust your gut. And when you see an album like this at a thrift store, and it just kind of gives you a feeling that this is going to be something special just by looking at it. More times than not, I'm right. And this is the case of this album. This is a band called Rasputin Stash. Oh, hang on. Look at this album cover. You got heavy black guys in front of a portrait of Rasputin, and it's called Rasputin Stash. This is, I'm not going to open it for you just to save some time here, but it's a nice gatefold kind of pocket sleeve on Cotillion Records, which is odd to see a funk album on that. It's usually kind of like ELP and McDonald and Giles kind of prog stuff. Not exclusively, but it's an original pressing on that label. There you go. If you can see that. Anyways, I saw this, and you gotta trust your gut. Like, this is going to be something fantastic. I picked it up, and when I brought it home that day after finding this mega haul I had, I played it 3 times in a row. That's how good I thought it was. And if you see this album, I guess, I'm not sure if there was ever a repress, but you got to hear this album. It's funk, but it's just... I'm going to use the well-worn term psych. It's got weird spoken word bits, and it's just, it all blends together, and it's just probably one of the best surprise albums I've ever picked up at a thrift store, not knowing what the hell it is. And there's some coverware in the back, but anyways, there's another portrait of Rasputin and a cutout of the guys there. Anyways, Rasputin Stash, 1975 original pressing, and I'm gonna show. I was going to do something where I was going to show this, and then. Oh, well, you'll see. Anyways, there's that. And just to show you, I didn't just find Rasputin Stash. I found 1, 2, 3 copies of it. I don't know why someone had 3 copies to donate, and I don't give a shit. They're mine, because I'm going to comp these into one really pristine copy. All the vinyl on these ones are really nice. Or either that, or I'm going to just kind of piece them out to local friends of mine who deserve to hear this album. 3 copies of Rasputin Stash. I was going to do a little thing where I kind of showed the next album like I had never showed you the first album and blah, blah, blah. Play stupid. But I don't think that would have been as funny as it was in my mind. That 3 copies of Rasputin Stash that was $3 each, or $3 for all 3. Please check that album out. Mason Williams Music. This is like an original, was it late 60s, early 70s copy of Music on this really weird gold Warner Music label. Mason Williams, if you don't know, folk, rock kind of guy. Although he's done a lot of different things, but this has his version of Greensleeves, which apparently is one of his better known songs. But Mason Williams, that was kind of one of these buys. It was there in this big pile, and why not just take the whole pile? And that's what I got. Mason Williams Music. It's a decent folk rock kind of album. Anyways, I guess Mason's still kicking around at age 75, 76. All right. What is next? What is next? Okay. For pure value, for monetary, one of my biggest finds of this year. And I kind of put this album out there to a lot of psych people who kind of flipped out that I found this album at a, well, just to even find this album is a feat unto itself, as it was a private press, and there's kind of varying reports how many copies were printed up, whether it was 500 or 1,500, but it wasn't more than that. In 1975, it was on a private label called Adelphi Records, and it's a guy named Steven Spano, Eye to Eye, and it's an incredibly in-demand album. Just for point of reference, the average price is about 75 Canadian, and then some dullard jumped the gun and paid 200 for this on Discogs. But when I'm kind of trying to determine the price of an album, I kind of go with the median price, and then you kind of base it upon a condition after that for something as rare as this. But it is a psych folk album, which kind of, a lot of people hanging that tag on albums, but this really is an incredibly good psych folk psych album, and I had to do some Googling and just kind of find out how in demand this album is. Yeah, that's the kind of luck I had on this one haul. Just Steven Spano, Eye to Eye. If you don't know this album, which I'm going to guess I didn't, was one of those gut feeling things. Do some Googling. I think there's some stuff on YouTube. Just, yeah, an amazingly rare, incredible find. For those of you who go to thrift stores, how many Moody Blues albums do you find? I find them all the damn time. Finding good condition ones, like a lot of things, that's half the battle. Finding their earlier material in good condition, that's even harder. But in that one haul, I found a really nice original Canadian. Is it Canadian? Oh, this is England. I didn't know that. This is a UK pressing. Wow, an original, I believe, or it's an earlier pressing, anyways, on London Records of the Moody Blues Days of Future Past. One of the few Moody Blues albums that I would rate and keep in my collection, obviously. Yeah. Anyways, I really have nothing more to say about this album other than it's one of their albums that I have had copies in my collection and always looking for upgrades. And this is probably the best upgrade I'll find. So this will be the permanent one in my collection. Wow, I didn't know that was a UK pressing. There you go. 1967. Moody Blues Days of Future Past. Past. All right. I have never seen one of these albums either at a record fair or a thrift store or anything of the like. And I kind of picked it up just upon name alone. I'm aware of this gentleman. And what a weird one it is. This is an original Elektra USA pressing of David Peel and the Lower East Side, the American Revolution. Lots of songs about pot on this one. I think some of you all might know David Peel better than I. Like I said, I'm vaguely aware of David Peel, and I've heard some of his stuff. So, for the price I paid, it was just, why not pick it up? David Peel, The American Revolution. I'm trying to hurry today. This is one of those ones I got in that haul, and I looked at the back of it. I thought it might be some really cool jazz album. It's called Young Holt Unlimited, and it's called Just a Melody. It's an original Brunswick Records pressing, and it's an instrumental, jazzy soul album, and it's okay. I'll be honest with you. It's not everything I pick up is friggin' solid gold, and I'm trying to be honest with you. This is okay. It's not really my thing. I played it through, and I just found it unremarkable. This is about a 1968 pressing. Like I said, I was hoping for something a little bit more, just more than what it was, but it was okay. Young Holt Unlimited, Just a Melody, 1968, Brunswick Records. Just when you see these for $1, you can't pass them up. Because why? Why would you? Well, would you pass up a copy of Peter Gabriel's So for $1? I wouldn't. I don't need it. Well, I'll pass it along because I have the kind of super deluxe box set with the vinyl, CD, DVDs, and all that stuff. So, but you know what? It's in a pile. I'm going to grab it. Peter Gabriel's So. Nothing really more to say about this one. Arguably his best solo album, maybe next to Us, which I'm looking at right there. It's on the wall here. That's my opinion. So and Us, I believe, are his finest solo albums. We only got a couple more. For people who see this band at thrift stores, people seem to bypass them. Finding earlier pressings of their albums in good condition. Sorry, my dog's running through it. There you go. Finding good condition copies of their albums is half the battle, much like Moody Blues. But I see people bypass their albums when they're kind of earlier pressings and they're in nice condition, and don't. Just do yourself a favor, and if you see Mama's and Papa's albums for $1 and they're in good condition, you got to pick them up because they're one of the biggest bangs for your buck that you'll ever get. And there's one of those bands that kind of just, I don't know if they just kind of lost in, I don't know, there's lost in the void for some people. I don't know. But when I was very young, I've mentioned this story before, but we had a satellite where we would pick up the channels from the U.S. If you're in the U.S., which I think most of my viewers are, you know, having HBO and Showtime and the USA Network and all that stuff, that's a second nature to you. But I was one of the few people that we had a satellite, and we could pick up all those channels. And they used to air a Mamas and Papas documentary, and it was very profound for me. It was one of these bands that I thought I discovered, and I discovered them because none of my friends knew about them when this is, you know, I'm young at the time, 13, 14. And I don't know, I just been, I'm a huge fan of the Mamas and Papas ever since. And I got a really nice Dunhill Records pressing, and it's really clean, which is amazing, of their 16 greatest hits. Which I don't know if it's a lot of people, I don't know, it's not their definitive greatest hits because it's missing my favorite song called Straight Shooter. But having said that, if you can kind of ignore that fact, it's probably, you know, I'm not sure if this was their first greatest hits album, but I mean, if you see this, you gotta pick it up. You gotta pick up Mamas and Papas albums. They're just, I see people pick them up and bypass them, and I think, why? I mean, anyways, I'm probably speaking to the choir in this one, or maybe not. Maybe you think I'm full of shit. Anyways, all right. Last video, you might recall. Sorry, a dog here on my tongue. You might recall that I found this album, Susie and the Banshees Tinderbox. Okay, so this is one of those other tips for those of you who are just maybe starting to go thrift store shopping and whatnot. I found this kind of singularly by itself. No one donates one Susie and the Banshees album or one album of this genre. Who the hell goes to donate stuff? And here I have one 80s goth album to give you. No, you know this came from a collection, right? Maybe the thrift store only had time to put out one of them, and they got sidetracked by Halloween, and they were going to get to the rest of the records later, and that's what happened. So if you find one album that's just, it's a little too odd that someone would donate one Susie and the Banshees album, or one of one genre. That doesn't sound right. I go back to that store, and I'll go back to that store, and I know there's more coming out, and I've literally not been wrong about this in the last couple of years. more 80s alternative, I hate to use that term, but you know, this is what we called it when we were young. More came out. Unfortunately, I didn't need a lot of them, and a lot of them weren't in best condition, but this one did come out, and it just kind of, you put two and two together, you know this is the same collection that they put out, and like I said, a lot of people get sidetracked by, thrift stores get sidetracked by Halloween, and they kind of forget everything else. At least in my area, they do. Anyways, I got a Cure. This leads to this one. I got a copy of a Cure EP from 1985 I did not have. Quadpus. Not the most uncommon thing to find, because I think they sold a few copies back in the day, but I just didn't have it. It's a kind of a punch-up promo copy. But it came out on the, I'm not sure if it preceded or came out at the same time as their album, The Head on the Door. I'm going to guess it came out maybe slightly after, but it's a 4-song EP, and it has a remix of Close to Me, which was the big song off of 85's The Head on the Door. But anyways, that came out, and like I said, I knew more would come out. So that's another tip, I guess. Yeah, there you go. Take that for what it's worth. Anyways, we're going to end it here. And you might have noticed, I didn't want to mention this, but this is kind of, this bears repeating for posterity's sake, for people who might watch this in the future who are familiar with me. I have a dirty lip. I got sucked in at work to do this damn Movember thing. Some of you know what Movember is. It's everything that I'm against. Movember is people grow gross mustaches. It's supposed to be raising awareness for men's health issues and stuff, blah, 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 blah. Some of you all can sport a stash. I cannot. Yeah, it's everything that I'm against in life, and I kind of got sucked into it. You know, they kind of guilted me to be the one guy who wasn't going to participate, and just at the risk of being ostracized, I said, fuck, okay, fine, I'll do it, and I'll never do it again. I said, I'm shaving once, it's growing back, and I don't give a shit. I'm not doing this as a whole month. I got a couple DJ gigs coming up, and I'm not going to go to a DJ gig showing up like this. The prevailing comment I got at work the first day was I should not be allowed around schoolyard playgrounds. That's what many people said, and that's like, okay, this shit's going to end. Anyways, I don't know if anyone from my work watches this damn video, but you know what? It sucked me in, and it's not going to happen again. Anyways, one time only appearance of the, I know, I could be a lot more blue than I'm being now, as Frank Sinatra used to say, being blue. But yeah, I look like one of those guys you would call the cops on if you saw me around a schoolyard playground at my age. Anyways, we're going to end this here on that happy note. Anyways, cheers everyone. If you made it to the end of this video, I will be appearing on the Tech Webcast podcast on Friday, which is tomorrow. By the time I upload this, it might be already tomorrow. Techwebcast.info is the address. And I'll be on there talking vinyl and my usual nonsense. So anyways, if you made it this far, please tune in tomorrow. It's on, you can look up the website, techwebcast.info, and they'll give you the times that it's airing. It's out of Australia. So I'll be on with Brad and Jacob and the boys. Anyways, we're going to end this here. We're going to talk to you later, and with parts 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many of this haul. It was way too much stuff. But there you go.